Welcome to TV Africa News. Thank you so much for joining us and always being part of us. This is Africa Today. My name is Nahawa Kajura. In the headlines. Oulanyah speaks for the first time as among Ashua's nation speaker on road to recovery. Minister Okello Oryem hails strong ties between Uganda and Japan. Malian politicians react to France troops withdrawal. In our sports today, Mudali, the hero as Luwero United Pip Nyamitiobora. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. We start with one of our top stories. The Speaker of Parliament, Jacob Oulanyah, has issued his first public statement since news of his ill health. In a tweet sent out his official handle on February 17, 2021, Oulanyah appreciated his fellow Ugandans for their well wishes and prayers.
Oulanyah has been receiving treatment for an undisclosed medical condition in the United States of America since February 4th. Oulanyah was flown to the USA for specialized treatment at the recommendation of his Ugandan doctors. Members of Parliament and the general public have since expressed concern at the lack of information about the status of the newly sworn-in Speaker of the House. On Thursday, Deputy Speaker Anita Among added her voice to Oulanyah's to assure the nation that the Speaker is steadily recovering. Among revealed that Oulanyah's health had seen a huge positive change. She added that the Speaker had been able to speak to some members of Parliament. Among last week confirmed that Oulanyah was responding well to treatment and debunked baseless claims that had been making rounds on social media, suggesting that the Speaker's health had deteriorated. She has been asking people of goodwill to pray for a speedy recovery for the Speaker. Oulanyah, who last appeared in Parliament on December 21, 2021, has been out of the public for months after suffering from a yet-to-be-known sickness.
Moving on in our top stories, the Ministry of Health has revealed that the country needs at least 119 million doses of the COVID-19 vaccine if they are to fully vaccinate Ugandans, including children between 5 to 17 years. Now, Dr. Daniel Chabayinze, the Director of Public Health Services at the Ministry of Health, says that the ministry plans to inoculate at least 16,005,738 children between 5 to 17 years, in addition to the 22 million targeted adult population requiring at least 119 million doses of vaccines. We have the report.
Updating the country today about the national COVID-19 status, Ministry of Health said the COVID-19 vaccination rate has remained below their expectation even after acquiring sufficient doses of the life-saving jabs. The ministry is racing to inoculate at least 22 million people for effective control of the pandemic to guarantee the recovery of the economy, which has been battered by the COVID-19-induced restrictions.
But there are regions which are not doing very well as of now in terms of vaccine updates, and the reasons is why we will need to do the survey to know why. But we have seen Bundibugyo on the western border axis. We have seen areas in Amur, in Acholi region. We have seen limited uptake in some parts of Karamoja, but there we understand that we've just started. And then there are also some regions in the Busoga region which have not taken up the vaccine at the same pace as the rest of the country.
The Ministry of Health is soon rolling out COVID-19 vaccination for all children between 5 to 17 years in an effort of building herd immunity. Dr. Jane Ruth Acheng, however, disclosed that they do not have adequate vaccine doses to fully inoculate the entire population, including the children. According to Dr. Daniel Chabayinze, the Director of Public Health Services at the Ministry of Health, the estimated number of children aged 12 to 17 years is 6,780,138, while those aged 5 to 11 years are over 9 million. To vaccinate all these children and the entire population, the ministry requires at least 119 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines. However, only a third of these are available.
So when you factor in the number of doses, as you are asking, if we are to vaccinate all those people with 2-dose regimens and also give boosters for the people who are 21 million, that's the above age, we will almost require 119 million doses in the country. So from the current estimates, we only have a third of the vaccines received and in the pipeline.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health has revealed a remarkable reduction in the COVID-19 infections and deaths in the country. The positivity rate has dropped to 1%, and with only about 10 to 20 cases are being registered each day. Nalgo Muyingo, Africa Today.
Moving on in the top stories, Foreign Affairs State Minister Henry Okello Oryem has hailed Japan for its strong ties with Uganda for a number of years. Now, Oryem was on Thursday speaking during a function to receive Japanese overseas volunteers held at Hotel Africana in Kampala. More details in this report.
In 2001, the Japan Overseas Corporation volunteers began coming in Uganda. Since then, over 760 volunteers have worked together with the local communities, building trust and friendships for the socio-economic development of Uganda. Oryem said that he was honored to extend the country's appreciation to the government and people of Japan for their continued commitment in development across the globe, especially in Africa. The Foreign Affairs Minister said in the past 21 years of JOCV to Uganda, there have been several success stories witnessed, including construction of schools and water boreholes, as well as teaching of baseball to young boys and girls. He noted that the closer and excellent cooperation between the two countries will continue, but asked the Japanese government to work with Uganda to implement the Parish Development Model program, which is a strategy and a vehicle for organizing and delivering public and private sector interventions for wealth creation and employment generation at the parish level.
Well, thank you so much, reporter. We take a quick break. We shall come back with the international news. Welcome back for the break. You're watching TV Africa, the right to know. In the international news today, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa said he is keeping close eye on anti-migrant protests amid a wave of unemployment, particularly amongst young people. Now, speaking to the reporters in Cape Town, Ramaphosa rejected accusations of xenophobia.
South African President Cyril Ramaphosa reassured the people that they are keeping a watchful eye on the way that people are responding to the presence of people from their countries in their own country. He added that they have made it clear as South Africans that they are not xenophobic and do not hate people from other countries, but rather embrace people from other countries. Unemployment in South Africa is at 35%, climbing as high as 65% among young people. Many resent the presence of foreign workers. The president added that the number of South Africans have a concern that it's possible that those people are taking their jobs and believe that they need to address that issue with the sensitivity that it requires. He said that there is certainly no need by South Africans or for South Africans to take any action in their own hands. According to official numbers, there are almost 4 million foreigners living in South Africa, including political refugees, qualified workers, and economic migrants.
Away from that, politicians in Mali have begun to give their reactions to news of the decision of France to withdraw its troops from the West African nation over a breakdown in relations with the country's ruling junta after nearly 10 years of fighting of jihadists insurgency that still possesses a major threat. Take a look at the story.
The deployment has been fraught with problems for France. Of the 53 French soldiers killed serving in West Africa's Sahel region, 48 died in Mali. Multiple obstructions by the military junta that took power in August 2020 meant the conditions were no longer in place to operate in Mali, said a statement signed by France and its African and European allies. Modibo Soumare, head of party platform opposing the military government, is full of regret, said that the first reaction is to regret the context and the environment in which this is happening, because if they are honest, it's happening where relations are very tense between the Malian and French authorities. The decision applies to both 2,400 French troops in Mali, where France first deployed in 2013, and a smaller European force of several hundred soldiers called Takuba that was created in 2020 with the aim of taking the burden off French forces. He said that France's bases in Gossi, Menaka, and Goa in Mali would be closed within the next 4 to 6 months. He vowed that the withdrawal would be carried out in an orderly manner. The announcement comes at a critical time for Macron, just days before he is expected to make a long-awaited declaration that he will stand for a second term at elections in April.
Moving on, Belgian Prime Minister Alexander De Croo has submitted a complete inventory of Congolese works of art and artifacts which potentially could be returned to the former African colony. Now, the list was submitted on Thursday during a visit by DRC's Prime Minister. We have the report.
Congolese Prime Minister Jean-Michel Chenge said that he is not really going to take this as repairing wounds, but wanted to take it as a very voluntary act of having relationships that are not only improved, but very much come down in comparison with our expectations. The inventory contains around 84,000 objects divided in categories. The Belgian Prime Minister hailed the moment as a step forward in building a partnership of trust between Belgium and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Belgian Prime Minister Alexander De Croo added that the program of restitutions is an important element that shows the way they want to work together. The Royal Museum of Central Africa opened in Brussels in 1898 in the legacy of Belgian King Leopold II, who ruled over Congo from 1885 onwards. The museum contains one of the world's largest collections of African objects. The Congolese were the first to make themselves heard in front of mobilized security forces and blocking access to the council. Their demands were about what they described as balkanization of the Congo. On the banner,
nationals of the DRC, Ethiopia, and the Comoros living in Belgium and coming from the European countries, all the same objective this Thursday. A few meters from the European Council of Brussels, they staged a protest to denounce the political and social situation in their countries.
The Congolese were the first to make themselves heard in front of mobilized security forces and blocking access to the council. Their demands were about what they described as balkanization of the Congo. On the banners they waved "Congo is united and indivisible," "Non to the occupation of Congo Zaire," or "Don't touch my land." Another reason for their anger was Ugandan President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni and Rwandan President Paul Kagame, whom they accused of having betrayed Africa. The protesters chanted that an international criminal tribunal for the DR Congo must set up to try those who have been killing and raping our women for years. Opponents of the war in Tigray also spoke out, denouncing war crimes in the region of Ethiopia, which has been in the grip of a deadly armed conflict for over a year. They called for the withdrawal of Eritrean troops from the conflict, accusing them of killings and sexual abuse of women. Among the many messages, with the humanitarian situation increasingly critical, with millions of people and children dying of hunger, the international community cannot afford to look the other way.
Thank you so much, reporter. We take a quick break. We shall come back with the business news. Welcome back from the break as you're watching TV Africa, the right to know. In a business news today, Africa's relations with other respective regions across the world came under the limelight in the ongoing AU-EU summit in Brussels on Thursday. Now, the president of the African Union Commission, Moussa Faki Mahamat, reiterated the need for the African continent to strengthen its bond with the European Union for better economic progress. We have the report.
Moussa Faki Mahamat, the president of the African Union Commission, said that Africa is developing a diversity of partnerships that do not have the same history or the same scope as their partnership with Europe, adding that these new partnerships are no less relevant and beneficial to Africa and are worth of respect and consideration. The summit has brought together close to 40 leaders from different African countries as the EU is seeking to solidify its economic partners around the world amidst Russia and China's influence in Africa. The EU is aiming to convince the 40 African leaders in Brussels that Europe is their most reliable partner by fleshing out an investment initiative that aims to mobilize 150 billion euros of public and private funds over the next 7 years. On his arrival at the Brussels summit on Thursday, Senegalese President Macky Sall said there were still differences over the financing of fossil fuels, a sensitive issue as to how far the EU can go in financing such projects. According to observers, the African Union wants this to be taken into account in the final declaration to be issued on Friday.
In our health news today, Witwatersrand University in Johannesburg is vaccinating students and staff on the campus ahead of the vaccine mandate starting on the 1st of March. More details in this report.
Although the university's management stresses the safety of the vaccine and the need for vaccination mandate to secure the future of in-person learning, it has been met with hesitancy and reluctancy by students. Scott Smalley, Wits University Vaccination Project Manager, say that they are an on-campus learning facility education and the safest way for them to do that is to be vaccinated, pointing out that this policy really helps all of them to be vaccinated and be protected. Like many other African countries, South Africa is facing vaccine hesitancy from its population. Some students said it's a choice and no one should be forced to take the jab. Skara Sejmet Kaboni, with Students Representative Council legal officer, say that they believe that all students should be allowed to choose whether they want to be vaccinated or not, that no student should be forced to take a vaccine, whether it's indirectly or directly, and that no student should be deregistered based on their vaccination status. He added that they don't believe that it's morally and ethically justifiable to force or coerce people to take a vaccine, and they don't want in order for them to have access to tertiary education. With more than 3.6 million diagnosed infections and more than 96,000 deaths, South Africa's pandemic toll is the highest on the continent.
In Africa Today Sports, Luwero United forward Derek Mudali was the hero with the all-important goal on the evening against Nyamitobora at Kosovo Playground. Now maximum points for Luwero United elevated them to 8th of the 11-team log with 15 points. Take a look at the story.
Luwero United edged visiting Nyamitobora 1-0 during match day 13 of the 2021-2022 FOFA Big League at Kosovo Playground in Luwero on Thursday, February 17, 2022. Forward Derek Mudali was the hero with the all-important goal on the evening. Mudali struck as early as the 11th minute as the Kosovo boys rallied to their 4th victory in as many as 2 matches. The goal margin would have changed for the better if Alan Tebesweke, a mid-season signing for Luwero United, carried the goal-scoring boots. Tebesweke missed a glittering goal-scoring opportunity, failing to bury home a 1 against and 1 incident with the goalkeeper. Consequently, Nyamitobora suffered their 8th defeat in 13 matches, which leaves them on just 7 points, same as Malaba Youth Development Association. Meanwhile, table leaders Blacks Power maintained their good run with a return 2-0 home win over visiting Calvary at the Aki Bua Memorial Stadium.
It is at this particular time that I thank you for being part of us and always joining us. Don't forget to subscribe to your YouTube channel. We shall keep giving you the updates. It is TV Africa, the right to know.